new items, new sections that we proposed that I'd like to highlight for you. If you're following along in the matrix that was in the Exhibit D, this is line item 42, temporary sign, and it's actually on Exhibit A. It is on page 10, line 1. This proposed provision would provide additional signage to that signage is already allowed on site. It would allow one sign, additional sign per street frontage. So if you had a double frontage lot, you could have two signs. It would allow that sign to be up to 32 square feet, and it's allowed for a 90-day time period per calendar year, and that's in 30-day increments. This originally we were looking at, the Planning Commission was talking about a 60-day time period. However, there was discussion from one of the local businesses that wasn't a sufficient amount of time, so we bumped that up to the 90 days. Now that 30-day increment, it has to be 30 days, then the sign has to come down for a total of 14 days, and then it can go back up for that. And one of the proposed Planning Commission recommendations is that you look at adopting a new lower fee for the temporary sign plants. So that was a specific motion that they made.
And the fee right now is?
The fee right now, we just have one flat fee, $80 for sign review. And even the temporary sign, we will process under a sign permit, which is $80.
Did they have any suggestions?
They suggested a $10 per, or one-time fee, actually, and that was no annual, it was renewed annually and only one time. So in theory, you could get a temporary sign permit issued for $10, and that would be good every year in perpetuity for 90 days a year. That's their recommendation.
Okay. Question about that. So okay, it says here can be up for 30 days and then it comes down for 14 days.
Correct.
But it's a total of 90 days per calendar year, and they want that $10 fee to apply for the whole year?
The whole
Not
year.
each time we pull it down and put it back up?
Right, exactly. You get one, and it's actually a one fee. Their proposal is $10,
20 years.
for 20 years. You get
Oh.
90 days a year, and it's one time we would review it.
Oh, it's not once a year?
No.
It's for the life of the
Yes.
sign?
Wow. That's Planning
Pick it up.
Commission's recommendation. There's
Okay.
another agenda bill that you'll see later on from our department on establishing a reduced fee for temporary, and that's not what staff's recommended. That is what Planning Commission recommended.
The assumption is it's the same sign going in the same location, it's just coming down, going
That's the
up, and you
assumption,
shouldn't have a
yes.
whole lot of any review
Right.
on there whatsoever.
Right.
Okay.
The second section, new section, is on page 14 of the matrix. And it's on, still on page 10, line 35 in Exhibit A. And this relates to limited access highway signs, for those signs that are signs that are adjacent or within 300 feet of SR 14. We all know the new SR 14 projects looking at elevating the state route, so we have businesses along there that could be impacted detrimentally by that. And so the proposal is to allow them to have an additional sign, again like the temporary signs, an additional sign oriented towards SR 14. It would allow them to go up to 50 feet in height, and there is if you'll notice in the agenda bill, there's also administration would like council to consider an alternative, and that's based on a relationship to the elevation of the site to the elevation of SR 14. And basically you get one additional foot for each foot that you're below the height elevation of SR 14, up to a maximum of 50 feet. And we had businesses along SR 14 west of Ford that came in who had concerns with that. They were happy with those provisions. They were actually happy with our temporary sign provisions as well. And so that would be Planning Commission's proposal is that it's just a 50 feet. You're within 300 feet of SR 14 and you're zoned commercially or industrially. then you can look at extending that height up to 50 feet.
So under this one, if Wesley's is at 20 feet under grade, and they get a 50-foot sign, they can go up to 70 feet?
No, you go up to 50 feet, it's a maximum height. Our current sign code is 20 feet, this would allow you to go up to 50 feet.
And just for reference, the present plan for SR 14 is about a 25-foot grade.
The last issue is, as Director Boyce mentioned in her agenda bill, really the reason for us going back and looking at this was the proliferation of offsite signs. And so we had a lot of discussion during the year about offsite signs. One of the Planning Commission's recommendation to you is to have that section come back to them on the 2011 docket, to discuss offsite signs, to look at whether or not it's a possibility that we want to open that up, and how we would make accommodations for those offsite signs. They have language in the proposal now that would make provisions for some of those offsite signs. Our recommendation is that we don't adopt those right now, but allow the Planning Commission to have that section back and have that discussion and vet that out completely. There's concerns that we could open ourselves up to some legal challenges if we make provisions for one and not another. And but the other thing to remember that if we do open that up, then we're opening that up. We're opening that up for everybody as well. And so that was a major concern that some of the businesses had throughout the city. And as Joanne mentioned, we addressed virtually every other issue except this one, this offsite sign issue. And I think that's where the Planning Commission is asking council to, please send that back for 2011 to have them have that discussion.
They really want it back, huh?
They do. I mean, they heard from the business community, and they want to have that discussion and see what they can do about that.
Are they wanting to give them, if we send that back, are they wanting us to give them input or maybe a little direction?
I think that they'd be more than welcome. Obviously, they don't want to spin their wheels and get something back that's not going to work for you and for council. So I think that is, absolutely would be something that would be beneficial to them. And the more direction, the better.
Right.
I think that, obviously we have this concern and they have this concern that they want to try to address. And, the easier, any direction to get that, I think would be most helpful.
So they believe that they've given a best recommendation on the sign ordinance itself, but are willing to take that one back as a single issue, if you would, to give it deeper consideration.
Right. Their recommendation is to include the language for off-site open house signs. That's where staff is saying that's not our recommendation, because where our concern is, then we're opening the door for one, not others, that could leave us open for a suit. So what we're saying is our recommendation is not to adopt that section related to off-site signs. Keep it as it is now, no off-site signs, but to have that language come back to the Planning Commission for them to discuss and give you future language